Hey, Donald Miller here, Donald Miller's Electrical Services. So it is August 7th, and the summer months get a little busy, especially with scheduling. So I'm not able to make a video all the time. Typically, I'm helping my guys and keeping them moving and trying to give them as much of my time as I possibly can. All right. So we're always talking about helpers, okay? But let's talk about mechanics here because, the term mechanic basically states that you can be given the responsibilities that are required to be done on a job site and then complete them. All right. But the term has been used very easily on job sites, at least around here. And there's guys out there that deem themselves a mechanic, but then when they're given the responsibilities of the mechanic or mechanic responsibilities, they just constantly make excuses for why they're not able to complete their tasks, okay? And we find a lot of times it's because they're not a mechanic yet. They don't have enough experience, or they don't have enough proper training, okay? And training is important. When you're an apprentice and you're going through the ranks, okay, just because you can do the job doesn't mean that makes you a mechanic. Knowing the difficulties, what has to be done to produce a quality product is a huge experience. You need the experience of being trained underneath another mechanic. That way they can show you what quality looks like instead of you not being trained and you're able to do some type of work, but your work looks like crap, or you're not able to complete it within the correct amount of time. Proper training is important. And when you go and apply for a job, and if you're going for that mechanic's rate, oftentimes you're hurting your own future because you're not giving yourself employment opportunities where you're going to work underneath a really good mechanic, all right? And a lot of guys, and I'm sorry to say this, but they want that mechanic's rate, but they're shooting themselves in their own foot, because the moment you get that mechanic's rate, you now are responsible for producing at a mechanic's level, okay? There is no more training, okay? If you're stating that you are a mechanic, then the workload of a mechanic is going to be given to you, and it's expected of you to install that work correctly with quality and value in mind. And a lot of guys fall short and they end up getting fired or let go because they lied on their resume, or they lied on their job application because they wanted to get paid more, okay? Higher income pay rates are there for the guys that have put in the time to learn what quality means, to learn what value means. So when they trained underneath a really good master electrician, worked with other mechanics, learned how to communicate, learn how to set jobs up correctly, okay? All these things that you need to be taught, when you successfully complete them, you're now valuable, okay? And then you can go apply for those higher income rates. But don't get into a position where all of a sudden you're getting paid at a mechanic's rate, but everything you're producing is garbage because you were never taught how to do it correctly. You are winging it, so they say, all right? And I find, believe it or not, I would say out of a given year, we have at least 4 or 5 guys that completely blow really good opportunities because they were too busy trying to get that extra $5 more an hour, okay? When in reality, if they would have stayed at like an apprentice rate, okay, instead of hitting that mechanics rate, okay, if they would have stayed at an apprentice rate, one, they would be allowed to work underneath other mechanics. They can fine tune their skill and they can get to a level that will make them more valuable. And then the moment you have that value, it doesn't leave you. So you're not running around making excuses, jobs getting done not within the allotted time. Because typically when someone takes on a position that they can't handle, their work is always messy. They're constantly making mistakes and they yes people. So if someone tries to give them advice, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, okay, man. Okay, man. Oh yeah, man. Oh yeah, man." They're yesing them to get them away from them. Okay, it's a common. It happens all the time. All right. They're constantly not. They're not. They don't have enough experience and training to maintain the pace of a mechanic. So in return, their work looks like garbage. There's often callbacks. There's mistakes, okay? Because they took on a role that they are not ready yet for. Okay, and, who knows why they think they're ready for that role? A lot of times, it's people jumping from new construction, and because they're deemed a mechanic in new construction, they can go to other areas, and you can't. Like if you're in new construction and you're deemed a mechanic, when you go into other fields of electric, you're gonna be down a couple notches until you can get to until you understand the swing of things, and then you'll bounce right back up. But you need to go down a couple notches just because new construction is where everyone cuts their teeth. It's where you learn to be a mechanic. It's the easiest. I don't want to say new construction's easy because it's ball busting work. Okay, it's a 2 day rough, 2 day finishes. It's high pace. It's a lot on your body, but it's the easiest way to learn electric. So when you go to other areas, okay, outfits, renovation work, troubleshooting, service calls, even maintenance, it gets more difficult. You have to take, it's not so fast paced, it's not so simple. New construction is simple. Okay, this other areas of electric aren't simple. So you kind of have to take a step back, maybe work underneath another mechanic for 6 months to a year to get used to it, and then boom, away you go. You're in a different field of electric. But I say this because I see a lot of guys ruining opportunities because they think they're a mechanic and they get into a certain line of work and it blows up in their face. This isn't a sprint race. The electrical trade, your career is a marathon, okay? You're going to have fast times and you're going to have slow times. But what you don't want to do is ruin good opportunities when they present themselves. And no matter what area of this field you're in, there's opportunities all around you. You're just not seeing them. All right. And when we get into becoming a mechanic and you're at a mechanic's level, you really have to watch your personality. Okay. You have to watch how you're conducting yourself. I've seen a lot of mechanics be way too confident for the field that they're in. I've seen guys have more confidence than me, and I've been in the field for a long time in this one area, okay? And when I see that, I'm like, whoa, your confidence levels. I'm like, it's great to be confident, don't get me wrong, but when you're overly confident, it can be dangerous, okay? So some of these guys need to like eat a little bit of humble pie, pull themselves back, because some training is geared to get things done quickly, while other training is geared to do it correctly. And that's two different training platforms. And if you don't understand why it's two different platforms, that's a huge learning curve. You need to understand, why are you being trained to do something correctly? Why are you being trained to do something quickly? Because the actions are completely different in both lanes, all right? So when you get into the seasoned mechanics out there, okay, that's the type of mentalities that you're learning now. Instead of learning how to become a mechanic, you're learning more management. You're learning how to view the job. That's hugely important when you start getting into the higher value mechanic rates. So mechanics rates can get up there. And depending on your experience, your mentality, and your skill level, that's going to set your rate. Okay. And then if you want to get better, you have to constantly grow. Okay. There's no, I make mechanic and hooray, here I am. Okay. It's not in the non-union side. The union is a completely different ball game. So on the non-union side, your value is based on how much you learn and how well you apply it. All right. And I'm often teaching mechanics that, especially when you get into managing jobs, managing guys, okay? It's no longer just electric. It's how you deal with everything else around you. Okay, it's life on life's terms. We'll deal with it more a little bit later. All right. God bless. Enjoy your Monday and have fun out there.